Habits, the good, the bad, and the stupid. Today on the Landlord Coach Daily-ish show.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Welcome, everyone, to the Landlord Coach Daily-ish show. My name is Mark Dolfini, host of the Landlord Coach Daily-ish show and Landlord Coach. It's good to see you. Thank you for joining us. Here we are in the last week of 2020. I know many of us are going to be happy to put this to bed, and habits are abound, right? This is where many times of the year, or this time of year, many of us are thinking about breaking old habits, starting new habits. And just for those of you who are thinking about starting new habits and getting rid of old habits, you got to remember the average length of time that you need to form a new habit is 66 days. So if you can get past that magical threshold, you're doing well. So many of you I know are looking to take your rental business to the next level. I'm just going to hit this real fast. If you want to check out a course I have at landlordcoach.com/VIP, you can check that out right there. So today, of course, we're going to be talking about habits, the good, the bad, and the stupid. So I'm going to tell you a story like usual. The other day part of my morning routine is I come to the office. I like to be the first one at the office. I just like it because it's quiet and I can get things going. I get things kind of situated. I get the coffee going. And the coffee is located in the other room. It's in the main lobby area where clients were first coming in. Now, we've kind of shifted over to a virtual office just because of COVID, and it's just easier right now just in terms of the work situation. So, and we'll probably stay that way. I mean, at least for the foreseeable future. So the coffee was always sitting up front where if we ever wanted to offer coffee to people coming in, we could do that. So that's where the coffee pot was. So every morning I go in there and I take the carafe into the kitchen and fill up the carafe, right? Depending on how many is coming in that particular day, I would fill the carafe up to either 8 or 12 cups and then go back in there, pour it in, get the coffee poured in there. I always smell the coffee. I like smelling fresh coffee in the morning, and then go ahead and get it started. And I did this every day for, let's see, I've been drinking coffee now for about 9 months. I did this every day for about 9 months. And that's where the coffee pot was. Now, the coffee pot's been in that particular room now for several years. And there was really no particular reason to have the coffee pot in there other than the fact that that's where most people would have coffee if we had visitors to the office. Now, we haven't had visitors to the office for probably close to 4 or 5 months. I mean, we have people that drop off checks and stuff like that, but now since we shifted to a virtual office, we have people dropping off rent and, we process them remotely. So there's really no reason at all for the coffee pot to stay in there. But yet every morning for at least 3 or 4 months now, there was no reason for it to be there. I would take the carafe, I would walk 20 or 30 feet over to the kitchen, fill it up, walk another 20 or 30 feet back, fill it up, and then start the coffee. And then whenever I wanted to get a fresh cup of coffee, I would go and I would take my cup and go fill up the coffee again. I did this for months. Finally, LJ, our maintenance supervisor, he comes to me and he says, is it all right if we just move the coffee pot? And I was like, what do you mean move the coffee pot? What's wrong? He's like, no, why does it need to be in there? Why don't we just move it to the kitchen? And I looked at him probably like I was asking him to explain long division. I don't know why I didn't think of that sooner. And I got to admit, I was a little bit embarrassed because I'm a process guy. This is like the stuff I teach other people to help make sure their processes are in line, right? This is the stuff that I should be looking at. And this is the problem with habits, is that habits, although they start out benign and good enough, there's a reason why you probably started putting your left shoe on before your right shoe. There probably was a reason long before you even realized it, or why you do a certain thing in a certain order. What do you brush your teeth before you go to, in the shower or after, right? Why would it be any different if you changed it up? Really wouldn't be any difference at all, right? But yet here was, this silly process. And again, I probably wasted, I don't know, if you add up all the steps back and forth, maybe an hour, in the course of a year, walking back and forth. Now I'm poking a little bit of fun at myself, but this is how stuff that you get started just eats away at your day. And this isn't about, managing your time. It's about managing your activity. I'll give you in the course of time, did that cost me a lot? No. But I'll give you a more real world example that did. Back when my bride was working in my management company, this was several years ago, she one day asked me to stop at the post office for her. And I was like, yeah, I didn't really have a lot going on at that particular point in time. So I was like, okay, that's fine. I'll go ahead and run down to the post office. So the post office isn't far from our office. We went down. I think it's maybe a 10-minute drive, from the office to the post office. Find a few, take a couple minutes to park. I had to go, and there was a tag in the post office box where I had to wait and get, so I had to take the tag, and I had to, they had a package or something, whatever. They had a big envelope, so I had to wait in line for a minute or two. Then I got the stack of the bundle of mail, and then I went and got back to my car, walked back to my car, drove back to the office, and I realized that it took me almost 45 minutes to go get the mail. And she was doing that. Now, she was my operations manager. She was doing that every day. 45 minutes every day was spent just getting the mail. And I said, I said, do you get the mail every single day? She says, yeah. So I multiplied out what she was being paid times an entire year. And it was that $60 post office box, or whatever it cost, maybe $100, actually cost over $10,000 when I looked at it in the true cost in terms of how much time was being spent just getting the mail. Well, you might be thinking, well, why did you get the mail at the post office box? I'll tell you why. Even though I had a physical location, even though at that point in time I had a physical office, I had originally gotten a post office box years before because I was operating my business out of my house, and I didn't want people showing up at my house, so I got a post office box. Well, then I got an office, but I decided, because the office I wasn't sure how long I was going to be in that particular office, not the office I was in, now and at the time, but I was in a previous office. It was still easier for me just to go to one location. I didn't want mail being commingled with the other people in that building, so I just kept it there. Well, after we moved to our permanent location, I still kept the mail at the post office box. Rent checks, all the mail, all the correspondence went there. Once I sat down and did the math, I was like, that day, I stopped and said, no more mail at that post office box. Because now I do still keep the post office box for personal stuff and everything else, but all the mail, all the correspondence comes through the office. But I kept that post office box out of sheer habit. No one ever questioned, why are we actually doing what we're doing? Should we even be questioning it, right? There was a story, and I'm not going to get it entirely right, but of two military guys. Military is, they are notorious for this. And there's, this particular military story, this general walks up to see these two privates standing by a bench. And the general says, why are you two privates guarding this bench? And the private said, we don't know. We were just told to stand here and guard this bench. He says, it's a standing order. He says, okay. So the general said, well, who from whose order? And he said, we're not sure. We're just told, we're privates. We're doing what we're told. So the general asks around, and from what he could figure out, it was from a previous order from the previous general that used to run the base. So he calls up the previous general and says, hey, what's the deal with this order of these two privates guarding this bench? He says, I don't know. That came down from a guy before me. So the guy before him was some old salty general. He was well in his 90s. They managed to get a hold of him and said, what was this order about in terms of, why these privates had to guard this bench? And the old salty general barks back. He says, you mean that paint hasn't dried yet? So, yeah, that's exactly how crap like that gets started. So anyway, you have to guard your time. You have to be mindful of actually what you're doing and why you're doing it. And just like me walking an extra 20 steps, is that going to burn the house down? No, of course not. Did it matter, that I was not being totally efficient with my time or anything else? But how many things do I have to stop and look at? Wait a minute, what am I doing and why am I doing it? Like, I can tell you right now, the biggest waste of my time, and I don't mean it to sound like it's bad, but the worst use of my time is when I get in my email, right? But email is where a lot of my work comes in, where a lot of my students contact me through, and, other obviously important email correspondence comes through. I mean, it can't not be checked, but the problem is I get sucked into my email, and the next thing I know, I look up and it's 5 o'clock. It's time to go home. Right. And I manage to be on everybody else's agenda but my own. I don't get any actual work done except, emailing back and forth. So I had to stop and reorganize my calendar and get people to actually review my emails for me to say, hey, this needs your attention, or do you want me to respond back for you, or this or that? Most of the time, it really doesn't need to be done by me. It just needs to be done. So it's interesting that once I got really intentional about how I was using my time and how I was allocating my use of time, then I could start being much more effective. And then when I go home, I feel really, really accomplished. Today, I worked on some ad copy, and I worked on some other writing and other stuff that's much higher and best use of my time. So I would invite you to do that. If you're going to try to, stop old habits and start new habits, I think that's great. Again, 66 days seems to be the magical number. Some deeper seated habits may take longer. Some other habits may be shorter, but the average is about 66 days to start a new habit. But keep in mind, if you're stopping an old habit, you might have to ramp up for that as well. So stopping a habit is also kind of like a habit, right? You're starting a habit of not doing this old thing anymore. So you have to keep in mind that you can't try to do too much all at once, because there's just not an endless well of willpower. You're going to run out of willpower before you actually are able to get that new habit seeded into your new daily routine. So that would be my recommendation if you're thinking about, hey, look, I'd love to make up some more time in my day. I'd love to, just think about how I can work more effectively, more efficiently. Well, maybe just it's starting to look at some of the things of what you're doing and why you're doing it in the first place. So you're not making stupid coffee runs for no particular reason. Anyway, that's all I have for today. Let's go ahead and check out our page, see if anybody says hello. I don't know if anybody actually joined us today or not, but let's see if we've got, well, we had a few people. Here's Jennifer Dolfini. Yeah, I remember when I started at June Palms. Nope, that's I'm not sure what. Oh wait, that's from yesterday. Oops, sorry everybody. Oh, there is Kathleen and Paul Stankiewicz. I appreciate it. Keith Anderson, story time. Yes. Kristen Weathers. Hi, good to see you. Thanks for saying hello. There's no such thing as a stupid coffee run. Well, this was just not effective. How about we just say that? Okay. Hey, Jenny Bobadilla. It's good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. All right. So, yeah, I was just wasting time making additional coffee when I could have been making coffee with 5 steps versus 25 steps. I mean, right? So that wasn't making a good use of my time. All right. Well, that's all I have for today. Let's go ahead. Thanks for joining us today, guys. Let's go ahead and finish it up with the quote of the day. We first make our habits, and then our habits make us. This is from John Dryden. I had no idea who he was. I had to look him up. He's a 17th century poet and critic, I believe out of England, if I remember right. So that's it. But that's all I have for today, everybody. If you are looking to start a new habit of maybe making your rental business operate more effectively, more efficiently, if you've got some rentals and you maybe want to increase your time wealth, you can check it out at landlordcoach.com/VIP. And also, if you're interested in just getting some property management software, maybe to help you operate more effectively and efficiently, you can check it out at rentaware.com. That's rentaware.com. That's all I have, everybody. Thanks again for joining us for another episode of the Landlord Coach Daily Show. My name is Mark Dolfini. Please remember that if you don't place a value on your free time, someone else will. But most important, there is no amount of money that will make time irrelevant. Have an awesome day, and I'll see you next time.